The wind rolled low across the prairie, carrying dust and the smell of dry grass, the kind of evening that made the West feel endless and unforgiving. Welcome back to Frontier Echoes, where the forgotten stories of the frontier rise again from the silence. Tonight's tale is one of warning, courage, and a single moment that changed a man's life forever. The ranch sat alone at the edge of the valley, its wooden fences stretching like tired arms into the fading light. Jacob Hale stood near the corral, finishing his chores as the sun dipped toward the horizon. He was a man shaped by solitude, broad-shouldered, quiet, and careful. Life had taught him to rely on no one but himself. Out here, hesitation could cost you everything. Jacob wiped sweat from his brow and turned toward the cabin when he noticed her. She stood just beyond the gate, half hidden by the tall grass. At first, he thought she was a shadow, a trick of the dying light. Then she stepped forward, and the world seemed to pause. She was Apache, young but worn by something far heavier than years. Her dress was dusty, her long dark hair tangled by wind and travel. But it was her eyes that stopped him, sharp, alert, filled with urgency. "You need to get inside," she said suddenly. Her voice cut through the quiet like a blade. Jacob froze, one boot lifted mid-step. "What did you say?" "Inside," she repeated, glancing past him toward the open plains. "Now." Jacob's hand moved instinctively toward the revolver at his belt. "You got no right sneaking onto my land." "There's no time," she said. "If you stay out here, you'll die." The words hit him cold. Jacob scanned the horizon. Nothing. Just rolling land and long shadows. "You threatening me?" he asked. She shook her head sharply. "I'm warning you." Something in her tone made the hairs on his neck rise. It wasn't fear. It was certainty. Before he could speak again, a distant sound reached his ears, the faint thud of hooves, barely audible beneath the wind. Jacob's eyes narrowed. "Who's coming?" She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed his sleeve, her grip firm. "Get inside first. Then I'll explain." Every instinct he had screamed at him not to trust her. Strangers brought trouble. Especially out here. Especially Apache. That was what he'd been taught, what everyone said. But the sound of hooves grew louder. Jacob cursed under his breath and moved. He pushed the cabin door open, ushering her inside, then stepped in after her, slamming the door shut just as a rifle shot cracked through the air. The bullet tore through the spot where he'd been standing seconds before. Jacob's heart pounded as he dropped low. Another shot hit the cabin wall, wood splintering. "Who are they?" he demanded. "Men who don't forgive," she said quietly. "And who don't miss often." Jacob peeked through the window. 3 riders circled the ranch, their faces wrapped in cloth, rifles glinting in the fading light. "They're hunting you?" he asked. She nodded once. "And now, they've found you too." Jacob laughed bitterly. "I don't even know your name." "It's Ayanna," she replied. "And if you hadn't listened, you'd already be dead." Another bullet struck the door. Jacob loaded his rifle. "You better start talking fast." "They came to my village," Ayanna said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "They wanted land. Gold. When my people refused, they burned our homes. I escaped, but they followed. Anyone who helps me, they kill." Jacob clenched his jaw. He'd heard rumors of such men, outlaws pretending to be settlers, using violence to push natives off their land. "You led them here," he said. "I tried to warn you away," she replied. "You were the first soul I saw. I didn't want you caught in this." Another pause. Then a shout from outside. "Rancher," a voice called. "Send the girl out, and we'll leave you breathing." Jacob glanced at Ayanna. Her face was calm, resigned. "Don't," she said softly. "They won't keep their word." Jacob thought of the empty years behind him. The long nights. The silence. He thought of the bullet that almost ended him. He stepped toward the door. "No," Ayanna whispered. "They'll kill you." Jacob looked back at her. "I've been alone a long time. If today's the day I stop being a coward, so be it." He kicked the door open and fired. The first outlaw fell from his horse. Chaos erupted. Gunfire cracked across the ranch yard as Jacob moved with practiced precision, firing, reloading, ducking behind cover. One rider fled, another fell wounded, dragging himself through the dust. When the smoke cleared, only one man remained alive, pinned under his injured horse. Jacob approached slowly, rifle raised. "Please," the man groaned. "We were just following orders." "From who?" Jacob demanded. The outlaw laughed weakly. "Doesn't matter. This land's changing. You can't stop what's coming." Jacob knocked him unconscious and turned back toward the cabin. Ayanna stood in the doorway, watching him with something like awe. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes," Jacob replied. "I did." That night, they buried the dead far from the ranch. The stars burned bright overhead, indifferent witnesses to what had passed. Inside the cabin, Jacob poured water and handed it to Ayanna. Her hands shook as she drank. "You saved my life," she said. "You tried to save mine first," he replied. Silence settled between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. "They'll come again," she said finally. "Men like them don't stop." Jacob stared into the lantern flame. "Then neither will I." Over the following days, Ayanna stayed. She helped mend fences, cooked meals, and watched the horizon with a vigilance that never faded. Jacob found himself listening to her stories, learning about her people, their losses, their strength. The ranch no longer felt empty. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Ayanna stood beside him on the porch. "You could still send me away," she said. "You'd be safer." Jacob shook his head. "First time in years, I don't feel like running." She studied him. "When I told you to get inside first, most men wouldn't have listened." "I almost didn't," he admitted. "But you did," she said. "That choice changed everything." Jacob looked out at the land he once thought would be his grave. Now it felt like something else. A beginning. Far away, danger still lingered. But so did purpose. And in the quiet between heartbeats, Jacob understood something he never had before: sometimes survival isn't about strength or weapons. Sometimes, it's about listening to a warning, and choosing to step inside.